Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Rohr Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Lara Sturm.
Welcome to episode 63 of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. I am one of your hosts, Lara Sturm.
And I'm Josh Rohr. We are back after a 3-week hiatus. I'm sure you guys all missed us. Maybe, maybe not.
A lot has happened in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, there's been a lot. So we're going to start on kind of a sad note here. One of our lifters, Allie Rosen, she was 13, just turned 14 recently. She and her father and 2 other people were killed in a plane crash in October 8th, I believe it was. She had just competed at the Valhalla Awaits meet on October 2nd. So kind of obviously taking us by a surprise here, not something you expect to hear. But I thought that I would share kind of the little memory I have last time I talked to her. It was kind of a neat moment, I guess. Basically, my wife and I were going away for our anniversary trip, so I wasn't actually able to be at the meet. So her and I were doing a Zoom call right before we left to kind of go over her numbers and everything, along with Lauren. She was another one of the people that were on the plane that went down, Lauren Harrington. But anyway, so, we hop on Zoom and, I'm pulling up all of her numbers and everything. And, I'm looking at her workout, and there's like the last 3 weeks of her training is missing. And all the videos that I know was there because I looked at it like the previous week. So I'm like scratching my head trying to figure out what the heck happened here, and I'm like, Allie, what, where's all your training stuff? And she's like, yeah, so I don't know what happened, but I deleted it somehow. And, if you guys know me, like I get stressed out pretty easy about, maybe it's because I'm too much of a control freak about stuff, but, trying to make sure I know every little detail and planning everything perfectly. And I'm like, well, I kind of need your numbers and videos to pick your numbers for next week or for this weekend, and she's like, yeah, I don't know what happened, but I have everything. So like, don't worry about it. Like, it's all good. We got it. So it's just kind of one of those situations. Like I was getting stressed out, and, this 13-year-old girl is just like, hey, look, I got everything. Don't worry about it. We can go over it. I have all the information. It's kind of a, not a real, I don't know. It's just something I remember because it was one of those moments I was so caught up in like, hurry up, get everything done. Like, getting caught up in, just all the crap that's going on. And, here's this 13-year-old girl that's just like, hey, look, calm down. It's all right. Everything's going to be fine. And I guess the funny part to me was, once she said that, it's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Like I'm getting stressed out for no reason. But the funny part to me was like, the whole time she's telling me this, like she doesn't know how she did it. She don't know what she did. Like she's doing her best to not just crack up laughing because she thought it was just, I don't know if she thought it was funny that I was stressed out or if she thought it was funny that she deleted everything and doesn't know how she deleted it. But either way, it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me not to take things too seriously sometimes. So,
yeah, right. Because you don't know.
Yeah. So that's one of those, hard things to to deal with. Like some of the people on the team met her for the first time at the meet and were made comments like how impressed they were with her, just how she carried herself, like how cool of a person she was, and then this happens, so it's just really, I don't know, it's tough, but definitely wanted to at least mention it. And that's something we've been dealing with as a team, and it's tough. Not really sure what the words are. Just feel for her mom and sister. That's just, they lost Allie, they lost, her husband and, Allie's dad, Jonathan. It's a hard thing. And there's just no words, but
yeah, not really.
Yeah. So
Just isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to see someone that young get into powerlifting in the first place.
Yeah. And she genuinely loved it. Like, that's the thing. Like, parents sometimes sign a kid up to do something or put them in sports, and, you can tell that's not really what they want to do, but that's what they were told they had to do. Well, that wasn't the case with her, man. She loved it. Like, I mean, she's the one, like, even when we did our first call, like, she had her whole family on the Zoom call when we first were talking about starting. And, she's the one that was asking all the questions. Like, it wasn't the parents. Like, she's like, so are we going to be doing like a lot of, assistance exercises? Cause I really like doing squat, bench, and deadlift, just stuff like that. It was really cool.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to set a bunch of records in her first meet and have a lot.
Yep.
Unfulfilled.
Definitely unfulfilled. It's gone way too soon. It's hard. Like, it's hard anytime somebody young dies, but when 14, man, it's just like, I don't know, it hits different.
Yeah.
But anyway, we need to move on before I lose my composure here.
Yeah. So, do you want to go on to the powerlifting situation?
Yeah, let's hit the powerlifting situation.
All right. So the situation this week, which is funny. So the situation is, you are a 30-year-old, 105 kilo lifter trying to qualify for nationals in June. There are 4 more meets close to you, one in January, one's in February, one's in March, one's in April. You could choose from any one of them. And you've never done better than 6 for 9 in a meet. The closest you've ever gotten is 50 kilos under the qualifying total. And you really want to qualify for nationals, right? So is your strategy better to pick one meet and train for it? Or do you pick multiple meets in the hopes that you'll have a good day at one of them? Huh.
Yeah. And I've heard this from a lot of people. Like, a lot of them say, like, I hear people say, well, I'm going to do all 4 of them, and just that way I have 4 chances to qualify. I think that's foolish, personally.
That's the worst. That's the worst option.
Yeah. Right. Because if you're always turning around getting ready for a meet, you're not getting stronger. Like, the whole training cycle leading up to peaking for a meet is where you get stronger. The actual peaking for a meet is not the part you get stronger. That's where you realize the strength that you've built. So essentially, you're going to be doing a meet back to back to back to back. You're not going to be getting any stronger. You may, have a little increase in your total just because you're figuring out exactly where you're at strength wise, but you're not going to progress. So to get another 50 kilos, I don't think that's the answer. So for me, I would pick it depends. If you think you're going to need as much time as you can to get stronger, then we're going to pick the April meet, put all our eggs in that basket, and then just be happy we're at nationals. If we think, training's going pretty well and we're able to get that 50 kilos, like, the sooner you can get qualified, the better, because then you can do, a longer training cycle to try to get us even stronger for nationals. So I'm probably picking the March meet. If I'm just arbitrarily picking a time and basing all of our training on peaking and being the strongest in the March meet. Now the part that is the big red flag here is never done better than 6 for 9. Well, to me, that tells me that your attempt selection has been shit, or you are just terribly inconsistent with your technique, referee commands, squat depth, whatever. So there's a reason you're missing the lifts. Don't know what it is, but that needs to be fixed. Again, it doesn't say here how long you've been competing. So if you've been competing for 10 years and the best you've ever done was 6 for 9, then you got to completely change something, because that's not great. Right. So if I'm picking this, I'm saying we pick the March meet, clean up all of the consistencies technique wise, really dial in the attempt selection and set you up to hit that 50 kilo PR total, I guess, to qualify.
That's
not a slam dunk.
Say.
That's not a slam dunk either. That's still, that's going to take
50
some work.
kilos is a lot.
Yeah. But,
That's
you know,
the-
we're looking at a 105 kilo open lifter in this situation. So, you know, the qualifying total is already pretty big. So percentage wise, 50 kilos isn't as big as it first seems, but it's still a big amount of weight.
I would do March with an April backup.
Yeah,
like
right.
it kind of depends. Like, did you maybe end up going 8 for 9 and missed it by 10 kilos? Well, they might, you know, could pick it up in April if you were just a little bit more consistent, maybe.
Yep.
But it's all like
Yep. That's, I agree with you. You know, having the April as a backup with the hope that we don't need to do it. Now, you know, the people that are wanting to do all 4 meets to have their best chances because they're terribly inconsistent and they just want to roll the dice and see where they do their best. That's not a good strategy.
no, that's like the people that are just going to open up at their max.
And take 3, you know, I'll open at my max and take 3 shots at it, you know.
Right.
Well, I didn't get it this meet, so I'll do meet next month and do it again and take 3 more shots at it. Well, that's not smart.
No. Please tell me there's no one that actually does that.
I've talked to people that that's their mentality. I don't know if people have actually done it, but I've had people come to me like, you know, just they wanted some input on attempt selection. I'm like, well, you know, let me see kind of your training. What have you done at the last couple meets? And they're like, yeah, so, you know, I got, you know, I want to try to qualify for nationals and I'm doing these 3 meets in the next, you know, 2.5 months. And I'm just like, that doesn't really make sense.
Don't do that.
You don't get to add your totals together from all those meets.
Yeah, right. Like if you could just take your best squat at a meet and your best bench at a meet and your best deadlift at any meet. I mean, my total would have gone up by a few kilos.
Yeah, but not as much as some people I know. Like, I mean, you've been a pretty consistent lifter. Like, you got sometimes like, you know, somebody will hit 3 squats. Other times they'll only hit 1. Sometimes they hit 3 pulls. So like their numbers are all freaking all over the place. So yeah, if they could piece together their, you know, best lifts from each meet, then their total goes up, you know, a lot. Well, that's why you got to put it together on meet day. You don't get to pick and choose that way.
Be great if you could.
Yeah. I disagree though.
Virtual.
I disagree because like it's so much harder to put it together. Like
yes,
there'd be so many more people like in the mix that are terrible lifters. And I say terrible lifters just because the consistency's sake, not that they're not strong. But that's what makes somebody a good lifter is being able to put it all together on meet day. Like it's you know, it's much easier to have a big total if you can, you know, cherry pick all of the top performances that you've ever done, right? Doing it consistently on the same day is a whole nother beast. So
speaking of meet day, we have another powerlifting situation. So here you are on meet day as a lifter. Would you, if you have 2 lifters that have the same subtotal, this is a know your rules type of question. So if there's 2 lifters that have the same subtotal, would you rather be the lighter lifter with 0.01 kilograms lighter and a lower lot number, or be heavier by 0.01 kilos with a higher lot number?
This one's easy for me. I'll be heavier with the higher lot number because I want to deadlift last. So if you have the same, and you know, when we posted this, we had a lot of people say the other, because being heavier means you got to do 2.5 kilos more than the other lifter. But being in this situation, being lighter with the lower lot number means I'm going to deadlift first. So the other person after me is going to know what they have to do to win. I have to guess perfectly if I'm the lower lot number, you know, the most I can do without more than I can miss, because by being the heavier lifter with the higher lot number, I'm in the driver's seat the whole way. And what I mean by that is if our subtotal is the same, Laura, let's just say you and I are competing against each other. You're the lighter lifter with the lower lot number. If you're opening with 200 kilos on your deadlift, then I'm going to open with 202.5. So that is after openers, if we both make it, I'm ahead of you. So then if you miss your second, I already won the meet. If you make your second, I have to do 2.5 kilos more than you to stay in first place. If
Right.
you miss your third, I already won the meet because I'm ahead of you after seconds. So by being heavier, even though I'm heavier and have to do 2.5 kilos more, I pull after you. So I get the final say. And I'll take that every single time personally.
Right. Because the key here is you already have a subtotal. So if you already have a subtotal, you're going into deadlifts.
Right. Yeah. And
So-
we're tied at subtotal. So we have
Right.
the exact same subtotal, meaning, there's no gambling like, well, I need to out deadlift the other person by 7 kilos or anything like that. In this situation, I need to out deadlift you by 2.5 because I'm heavier. And if I had so I always want to be pulling after you. So like in a lot of ways, this lot number part of it doesn't even play a role because I should always be doing 2.5 kilos every single attempt. Or I should always be doing 2.5 kilos more than you every single attempt. So it kind of takes the lot number factor out of it because we're not doing the same weight. And I would argue that if the heavier lifter attempted the same weight as you, that's a mistake because that's basically pulling to tie you and lose on body weight. So I'm keeping myself in second place. I just think I would always, first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, I would just make sure it's 2.5 kilos more than you did and stay ahead after each attempt. And I know coaches, I know high level coaches that would disagree with that. They would say, don't change your strategy. If you're planning on opening a little bit lighter, open lighter, and then, take your normal attempts. But I to me, I don't agree with that always. I mean, in certain situations, like if you're gassed or if, you're really you're good for one deadlift, then maybe that's the case. But, we're also, by doing that, we're making the other lifter make 3 lifts. Like we don't have to make 3 lifts if the other person can't make 3. So if they know that they're in second because we're ahead of them by 2.5, they might take a bigger third attempt than they're able to do to try to make us, they think they can make it and they think we can't. Well, if they miss it, it doesn't matter if I can make it or not. I don't have to because I already won. Right. If we are 2.5 kilos ahead by the, end of seconds.
It puts you in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yep.
So
that's my strategy. I mean, even though, yes, we would have to do 2.5 kilos more total than the other person, but I want the final say. I don't like the unknowns. If I can have the final say, I'll take it.
Right. Now, if it was just going into the meet and it was just like, there's no subtotals involved yet, right? Would you rather be the lighter one with the lower lot number or the heavier one with the higher lot number?
Ooh, now
that's obvious.
Now you're throwing a curveball at me. So
curveball. No subtotal. It's going into the meet.
If there's no subtotal, is a
lighter
beginning of the meet, I'd rather be the lighter lifter. I still want the higher lot number. So this is where you got to make a decision. I would want to be the lighter lifter at the beginning of a meet, a little bit more than I'd rather have the higher lot number.
Well, and you don't get to choose your lot number either, so it's what it is.
Yeah, right.
It's a theoretical if you could do these things. And
I'd rather be the lighter lifter at the beginning of the meet.
I had someone once at, I think it was my first Bench Worlds, where I weighed in at exactly the same weight as somebody else. I think it was Bench Worlds. I don't remember. And I remember the coach turning to me and saying, "Why didn't you spit? You could have been lighter."
Yeah.
And I was just like, didn't even occur to me. And guess what I did at my first world championship?
Spit?
I spit.
Yeah, but here's the other thing though. Like nobody gets to find out what people weighed in at until the weigh-ins are done. So
right. But you don't know. So you might as well.
Yeah, you might as well.
Weigh in a little bit lighter, as long as you're not stressing yourself out with it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, but let's say you spit and you weigh in at 0.3 kilos under your weight class, and then you're tied, you weigh the same as somebody else again. They're going to say the same thing. Why didn't you spit more?
Right.
So,
but I mean, you can always spit just a little.
Yeah.
Just to get a little bit lighter. And if you end up needing it, then you did it. Yeah. But man, I didn't end up needing it at Bench Worlds at the time. I was not going to catch her at all. But it actually, I think, came into play in that first world champion meet that I ended up winning. I think
Yep.
it mattered.
Yeah, it matters. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you can always argue too, like, just lift 2.5 kilos more. Yeah, right. Easy to say, but
right.
if you can be a little bit lighter without hurting anything at all, like that's the thing. If it's going to take a little bit off of your lifts by doing that, don't do it. But if it's not going to affect anything, then yeah, make yourself just a touch lighter and take that.
Yeah, do it. All right. So we have a new lifter tip, and I like this new lifter tip. So I'm going to just already caveat it with saying, instead of agree or disagree, yes, fully agree. So, sorry, spoiler. So the tip is, have your equipment adjusted and be up and waiting to walk onto the platform as soon as the referee calls bar is loaded. This will make sure that you can utilize the full 60-second clock. So when you get to the platform, take your time setting up. And you have all that time in the world if you are already there. Many new lifters rush thinking they're running out of time. 60 seconds is a long time. Use it however you need to. I think as an equipped lifter, absolutely be ready to roll when they say bar is loaded. Because sometimes just getting up that darn ramp when you've got your knees wrapped, walking like a, I don't even know what.
Yeah, it's twofold. It's being able to get to the platform, like if there's a ramp, like you said. But what I see a lot of times too is people, newer lifters especially, like they're not ready. They call bars loaded, 30 seconds runs off the clock, they're nowhere to be found, and then they come running out and they're like super like freaked out because they're going to run out of time, so they get set up real quick and everything's off, right? Well, if they were just ready, I mean, there's nothing you got to wait on before that. Just get ready. When they say bars loaded, then walk onto the platform. Like, what the hell were you doing before that? You should have been ready. Then you can get out there and, even then, sometimes newer lifters like hurry up and get set up and get the start command, and they rack it and there's still like 49 seconds on the clock. So they could have taken another, 45 seconds to really get ready and get comfortable. And that's kind of what I think, being it's a new lifter tip, I think more new lifters need to be ready when they call bars loaded. And then when they get to the platform, just slow everything down, take their time, hell, stand there and look into the crowd and just kind of, get a feel for the room. Like when you're squatting, and just kind of know where you're going to look with the, when you're under the bar and things like that, and then get under the bar, make sure you're comfortable, take a few breaths and then unrack it. Like you don't have to be in a super big hurry. Like 60 seconds is a long time when you're actually there to use the whole 60 seconds. It's not a long time when you're listening to your music in the back when they call bars loaded and you don't even know you're up yet and you run out with like 15 seconds left. Okay, now it's a little bit urgent, right? So just be up ready to go and use that whole time.
Right. Even for raw lifters, because there's still that little routine that it's nice to have, and not rushing things is really important. Yeah. And I have seen many a world champion walk up and look at the bar before they touch it, right? Yep. Just to make sure, that kilo plate's there. Oh yeah, it's there too. Just to double check, because you might not have enough gas in the tank to lift it again if it's a misload.
Yep.
So
and
take your time.
And in the bench, same thing. If you watch the really good benchers, they go up and have a conversation with the handoff person before they lay down, because they want to make sure that communication and the lifter and the liftoff person is on the same page, so that you get the exact handoff that you want. There's plenty of time to do that if you use that if you're ready to go when they call bars loaded. Right. So just be ready to go and take your time when you get out there.
And in training, I would say, practice having a 60-second clock and see how long 60 seconds really is.
Yep.
Because
I think it's a great idea.
You think it's really short and it's really long.
Yep. And there's a couple things that we've done with some of our lifters too, where, we've just to practice, I guess, that calming down thing is like, sometimes warm-ups get rushed in the back at national meets, things like that. So things get kind of chaotic. Well, as soon as you get onto the platform, that's your 60 seconds to do whatever you need to do. So there's situations where people that kind of had trouble with that, like, I would just say, like, out of nowhere, like, hey, like in training, like, hey, get ready real quick. We got to go, the whatever, they change the order or something, I'm just making stuff up. So it kind of get them flustered. And then as soon as they get to the platform, like, okay, you have 60 seconds, slow everything down, calm your breathing, and just basically reset now that you're on the platform. Like all of that freaking out that we just made you do, that's over. Now you can calm down and get everything set up right. Mm-hmm. So just little, situational things that you can practice like that I think, at some point will come into play if you do this long enough. So just being prepared for it so that it just kind of is no big deal, I think is important.
Yep, I agree. So Josh, what are we going to do for our next musical list?
We're going to do some hype songs.
So what do you mean by hype songs exactly?
So we did top 5 80s one-hit wonders most recently. Well, we're going to do top 5 hype songs, open-ended. So it can be your meat hype songs that you will listen to when you're getting ready to do a third attempt. It can be what you listen to when you're I guess we'll somewhat put it in parameters, something lifting, like hype songs for lifting, not like what you get, not a hype song like right before you go to a party or something. I don't know.
Robert Bang.
You're right. Not.
I don't know.
That's a stupid.
Sorry.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, so starting next week, we're going to start revealing everybody's top 5 hype songs. We'll reveal the number 5 hype song next week. So everybody definitely DM us at PL Ballads Podcast or shoot us a email plballadspodcast@gmail.com with your top 5 hype songs. We should say lifting hype songs. How about that? Top five lifting hype songs.
All right. So I want to lift really heavy and get all hyped up, but not so much like bringing it down for emotional deadlift time, but like hype. I'm getting hyped.
Yeah. So my hype songs, none of these will apply to bench press because I don't listen to hype music when I'm benching. So, maybe some people do, that's fine, to each their own, but whatever songs like get you hype and ready to lift heavy
like
shit.
Squatting is when you need a hype song.
Yeah. And just deadlifting.
You gotta make fresh
and deadlifting.
And then bench is just like,
we both suck at bench. So
Neil Diamond or something like that. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, back. Yeah, we're rusty. Back on track. Send us your top 5 hype songs numbered 1 through 5, 1 being the number 1 song that you like to get hyped to. And again, just like we did with all of our others, after we reveal over the next 5 weeks everybody's list, we will bracket them and have a tournament where listeners will vote on the best list, and we'll have some sort of prize for the winner of the tournament. The winner of last time's tournament was Jim Battenfield. He got a BCA Extreme canister from Quest Nutrition and Athletics. So we'll be thinking about what to do for the prize, but it'll be something worthwhile. So send us your lists or don't, and be sad.
Or don't. Okay. All right. Well, I'm happy to have some homework, and I'm going to work on my hype songs.
Your hop songs?
my hype songs. Hype. Wow.
Right. We got to wrap this up. We're going downhill fast.
We are. All right. See you next week.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.